Well, from a technical and a positioning standpoint on the derivative markets, because if you look at spot prices, we always have to remind people it's not determined by physical trade, it's determined by COMEX and London and their price fixing and the trading and all that kind of stuff. Without getting into the details, that is more of a function of speculation on where the precious metals will go in the next few months. And it's basically a rolling few month bet on where the metals are going to go. It's not necessarily indicative of the demand. So as that market determines price, you can see movement up. And what's happened in both gold and silver is the bullion banks, or what I call the shark money, or they're the sharks of the market, I think. They have more data and they know more, have positioned net long silver, and they're moving long gold. And that movement to the long side has caused some upward price momentum because they hold the single biggest positions of any single group on the market. Now, you do have people that have to take the other side of the trade. And right now it's the managed money, it's the hedge funds and the financial houses who are taking the opposite side of the trade. But now that the bullion banks are moving long, I think that's an indication that they expect price to go up. And I think some people in the market notice that. And I think it's going to cause other participants to say, they're going long. They're really the sort of grand masters of this market. Maybe we need to take that position as well. And so I think that word, as it's gotten out to certain traders, has caused an increase in the price of gold and silver. But 99.9% of people don't pay any attention to any of that. So until we reach general public awareness of why the metals are important, I don't think we're going to have that next huge big leg of the cycle. And that awareness will come when we have some sort of financial event. Now, that financial event could be the announcement of a replacement currency, but I think it'll actually occur before then, because I think the dollar will fail or start to fail. Everybody's already talking about it. You'll even have the United States government central bank saying, yeah, the system's failed, we need a replacement, and then they'll bring out the CBDCs. And I think along that path, we'll have plenty of opportunities for people to get into gold and silver. And I think along that path as well, we're going to have a lot of bank failures and failures of the debt system. So as you look at the end of the fiat currency system, what has to die, what's the flip side of the same coin of that, is the debt system. Currency is created through the issuance of debt. So as that currency and debt system fails, it's going to cause people to move into safe assets like gold and silver, because they're not going to be able to move into bonds and the dollar. Now, this is all going to go in stages. Other worldwide currencies will fail first, then the U.S. one will, and then they'll start rolling out the CBDCs. And along that way, you'll see much bigger rises in gold and silver. And I also predict there's going to be so much uncertainty in the system, because think about, people have been trained, Elijah, for 100 years. Go to safety, bonds and cash. If they can't go to bonds and cash, and they can't go to Chinese yuan because it's had its problems, and they can't go to the peso, and they can't go to all these things, where do they go? They can't go to the FX spot market. Where are they going to go to arbitrage the risk? They're going to go to metal. So I think that there's going to be, this time, unlike the last few crises and recessions, this time I think there's going to be an absolute stampede into the metals. And it's going to be just a massive movement of people saying, I need something safe. And I think the wave that we're going to see of the generalists, not only buying the bullion, but buying mining stocks and anything related to the metals, is going to go absolutely nuts at some point. Because people, as we go through, it's different this time, Elijah. We're going through a currency reset and a financial system reset. And it's not just the U.S., it's the entire world. So what you're going to see people grabbing for the metals is going to be truly unprecedented. I think before then we could see rises as people reposition and some general awareness occurs, but we're seeing awareness in the commercial players. We're seeing awareness on channels like ours. But if you look at this, Elijah, you guys have probably, over 100,000 subscribers or whatever you're up to now. I have, 50,000 across my social media. Even if we took this video and put it on all of the alternative media, we may be lucky if we reach, 1 million, 2 million viewers, maybe a little bit more than that. Well, we have 370, whatever the number is, million people, according to the latest census in the United States. And we have almost 8 billion people in the world. So to reach that level of awareness takes time. So a lot of us are aware, but what we need to do is be an army of reporters and go out and tell our friends and family and use that network effect. And then as more people know, then you'll get that rise in precious metals. But I have said this many times the last couple of years, the big boom is going to come when the financial system starts to hit the skids and people realize the normal safety alternatives they have are not going to be there. And as they roll out the central bank digital currencies, a lot of people aren't going to accept that. And I think you're going to see people rush into the metals. A large part of the population is going to go to metals. And I actually think at that point, the government's going to panic a little bit and say, oh no, we've got an issue. And I think that's when the penalties on owning precious metals in the forms of taxes and other restrictions is going to come. When the big movement comes in, then the government's going to try to restrict. At that point, I don't think it's going to matter, because if people are moving a lot of their wealth into precious metals, I think a lot of people are going to voluntarily not adhere to some of those government guidelines on taxes, because they're not going to have a choice. If they need to pay daycare and buy food, they're not going to be able to afford to pay those taxes, and they're going to be panicked about what's going on in the system. And I think all of that's coming. And I think the last point I want to make is expect a lot of volatility in the precious metals going forward. We could easily see $100, $200 a day movements up and down and go back and forth. And we could see, $4, $5, $6 in silver. And the key thing is, don't get shaken on that, because what that will be is the market figuring out where to go. And that period of time will be highly volatile and scary for a lot of people. But it's happening for a good reason, because the market's trying to figure out where to go. And I think people will go there. So lots of volatility ahead, lots of uncertainty ahead.